Hello, this is Paul Drockton. You can read my articles at pauldrockton.com or listen to my show on rensradio.com. And I want to talk a little bit about Mitt Romney. Now, I've done a lot of research, as many of you know, and posted articles about why Romney can't be the Republican nominee. And if you take a look at the numbers, they don't add up to Romney. They don't add up to Mitt Romney. I'm sorry, but it just is what it is. Now, if you look at the numbers hard, they don't add up to anybody. There isn't anybody in this field, Republican field, that's going to get a majority of the delegates. But let's start with Romney. Mitt Romney basically in 2008 won both Minnesota and Colorado. They were part of the only 10 states that he won. He lost both of those states to Santorum in 2012. He just in the past couple days. And of course, this doesn't include his other losses in South Carolina, Missouri. The reality is that this guy's in trouble. And his campaign, at best is going to muster about 35% of the delegates that he needs in order to be nominated at the convention. Now, we're heading into Super Tuesday. In Super Tuesday, I believe there's about 394 delegates up for grab. You need about 1,200 in order to win the Republican nomination. Romney isn't going to pull a third, maybe a third of the delegates that are up for grabs on Super Tuesday. This guy's not going to come out of Super Tuesday with a mandate, which is a traditional benchmark of who the Republican nominee is. Now, he comes out of an election, Florida, where he basically spent $14 million against opponents that didn't even campaign in the state or didn't put any money into the campaign, and declares victory and tells everybody else that they should exit, and people wonder why they don't. Well, the reason why they're still in the race is because they know they can pull as many delegates as Mitt Romney. And Rick Santorum's proved that, and so has Newt Gingrich. And I'm going to tell you something. Ron Paul might pick up a few as well. Now, going into the convention with only 35% of the delegates planning on voting for you is not a position you want to be in, because after the first round of voting, then the second round comes along, and a dark horse can literally throw their name in the ring. And I'm telling you right here and now that dark horse is going to be Jeb Bush. Just think about it. You've got George Bush Sr., who was president. You've got George W. Bush, who served for 2 terms as president. Whose turn is it? It's not Mitt Romney's. Mitt Romney is in this race for one reason, and that is simply to take the heat off of Jeb Bush. Because if Jeb Bush were running in this primary right now, he would be the one who would have to go through the exam of his record as governor of Florida. And there's a lot of things we could talk about. We could talk about the flight school that sits in Naples, Florida, where the 9/11 hijackers were trained, where the documents were mysteriously grabbed up. We could talk about Jack Abramoff, the Sun Cruise casinos, the murder of Gus Bolus. We could talk about the wire fraud that was used to buy those casinos. We could talk about how Jeb Bush reportedly was caught shredding documents. I'm telling you, the best way to avoid any questions is with the distraction, and that's exactly what this Republican primary is. But that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is to point out that with the real Republican nominee not having to even run in an election, but coming out of the convention as the nominee, there's no political risk for anything that they do right now. None. Zero. A lot of people thought that things would stay calm until the election, and I'm here to tell you that all bets are off. So keep an eye on the economy, keep an eye on what's going on in the Mideast, and I'm just here to tell you that anything could happen, because these people are not at all worried about the popular vote at this time, because they don't need it. Jeb Bush will be the nominee. Mitt Romney is the patsy, as is Rick Santorum, as is Newt Gingrich, and as far as I can tell, Ron Paul is the only legitimate candidate that actually represents the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and Republican values, but he's not going to pull more than 10, maybe 15% of the vote in this election, simply because people just don't understand what they had. This is Paul Drockton. A couple things to think about, and I will be back with you on the next video.